Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to. So we are back with a brand new short movie on Naruto x Mary Jane movie. It's been 7 years since the Kyuubi no Kitsune attack. Things have calmed down, businesses were slowly rebuilding, the injured were treated, the third Hokage was reinstated into leading the village once more and life has returned back to normal. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for one Naruto Uzumaki. He was sitting in his apartment, feeling alone, no one wanted to be his friend, no one truly cared for him. While the third treated like an adopted grandson, he couldn't watch the child most of the time. Being a village leader takes time away from their family, never mind someone like Naruto. At the moment, the young blonde's eyes were nearly losing their mischievous spark. Why am I always alone? Before anything else could happen, but you're never alone when you have me with you. A dark growling voice spoke out, causing Naruto to jump slightly, looking around for whoever it was that spoke. As he was about to ask who was there, the voice chuckled darkly, "These humans don't care about you, maybe you'd be better off somewhere else." Hearing the suggestion, Naruto was puzzled. Why would I be better somewhere else? The voice huffed before replying, "Because no one'll know who you are, it'll give you a chance to start over, who knows, maybe this way, someone'll adopt you and raise you like their own child, also speak with your mind, since the walls have ninjas." What the voice said sounded too good to be true, though he found the ninja crack to be slightly funny, but at the moment, the thought of starting a new life sounded wonderful. That does sound amazing, but what about the old man? Wouldn't he be worried about me? Hearing the blonde, the voice couldn't deny that. That's true, which is why you'll write a letter explaining why you left, about how you want to start over, how being alone was making you lose your spirit. I'm sure he'll understand. Granted, the voice left out the fact that the Hokage would send out Anbu to try and bring Naruto back because he was sealed in him. Naruto, having no clue, replies, "Yeah, but where will I go? I can't just walk out the village like that. I'd either be brought back, or killed out there." The voice gave off a slight chuckle, a chuckle Naruto knew all too well when he was pranking someone. "That is why I'll send you somewhere else that's safe, though it would be a random jump to another dimension." That piqued Naruto's interest. He saw those types of things in old comics that people threw out. It hurts my heart when people do that, not realizing that their value would increase 50 years later. Look at issue 1 of Spider-Man for example. Hearing the child's thoughts, the voice replied, "Unfortunately, I'm tied to this world, so it would be a one-way trip. Luckily you'll still live when you arrive to that world. Since the laws of nature would be different, it also means your chakra may be locked or lost as well and the actual trip will be painful." Naruto was slightly put off at the idea of pain, as well as possibly losing his chakra, but gaining a possible family in a different world was kinda leaning him into it. Being an orphan, Naruto always wanted a family. Friends can come later, but family, so what if he wasn't blood related to them? It's all about the bonds they've gained by it. At least that's what it's like for him and the old man. Thinking things through, as much as a 7-year-old can, he nods his head. "Alright, I'll do it. I'll go and get a family in a new world. I might miss the old man, but I'm sure he'd understand." Naruto couldn't see it, but he can feel the voice was smiling. "Very well then Naruto, write your note, leaving out the world jumping part, since it would give your Hokage a heart attack." Doing what the voice said, along with leaving the world travel, since he didn't want that to happen. Once finished, the voice explained to leave everything, otherwise it'll get ruined along the way. Naruto followed what the voice said, sitting in the middle of his floor, in the lotus position, still wearing his white t-shirt and shorts, waiting for the voice to start. He then realized something. "Oh yeah, what's your name? You never told me that." The voice began. "Think it over, it may as well leave a parting gift. My name is Kurama. Once this is finished, you'll be sent away and I'll reform somewhere else, keeping away from all the humans, since I don't want to be used and sealed again." Being confused at that last part, Naruto gave a friendly smile. "Thank you Kurama, besides the old man, you're the only friend I ever had." Hearing this, Kurama was shocked. No one has ever thanked him before, so hearing it now was really heartwarming. "Good luck Naruto." And before Naruto could reply, a powerful primal pain hit him, covering him in red chakra. Before anything else, Naruto fainted. Marvel World. The Parker family were walking down the streets. A 7-year-old Peter Parker was super happy. Him and his aunt and uncle had just been to the movies, enjoying the latest show. Unfortunately his parents had passed on, allowing his uncle Ben and Aunt May to take him in, raising him as if he were their own in a happy environment. The only complaint that Ben had was that he could no longer help Peter with his homework, which caused the family a good chuckle. As they were walking towards their home, Ben and May came across an awful sight. May stopped Peter from moving, allowing Ben to investigate what on earth happened. For you see, laying on the path, meters from their home, was a blonde boy unconscious on the path. His clothes had cuts and burn marks on them, along with his body. Ben rushed over, trying to be careful with the poor boy. His eyes widened, seeing a boy, no older than his nephew, possibly younger given how he looks malnourished. Thinking the boy was beaten and mugged by someone, he couldn't help but feel sorrow towards the boy. Picking him up, Ben made his way towards his wife and nephew. May couldn't hold in the gasp she released, seeing the state the blonde was in. Even though he was curious about what his uncle was holding, Peter knew the look his uncle had. He had the same look when Peter accidentally nearly burned his room down with his chemistry set. Luckily his uncle stopped it. During the stern talking to his uncle had that same look. After the serious stuff was over, Ben joked about Peter needing time for his eyebrows to grow back, which caused Peter to pout, but joined in the laughter that they had, with May saying she's in a house with a couple of children. Anyway, the Parkers decided that the best thing to do would be to help the boy out, taking them to their home in order for him to heal. 8 years later. It's been 8 years now since Naruto came into the Parkers' lives. He became a brother to Peter. Ben and May agreed to look after him. After finding out he was an orphan they adopted him, bringing him into the family, where he took the name, Naruto Uzumaki Parker, deciding to use his old surname as his middle name. He explained how he was living on the streets, when a couple of bad guys beat him up, not wanting to say he was from another world otherwise they'd think he had an active imagination, or lock him in a loony bin. Now living with his new family, Peter helped Naruto with his homework, along with getting the boy hooked on mechanics. Due to Naruto's creative mind he was a natural. Of course he didn't go overboard, just writing a few notes here and there about ways that could possibly help people, but due to the family not being a wealthy one, his notes were just on paper. But Peter excelled in chemistry and other scientific paths. Sometimes he'd talk to Naruto for hours about Dr. Otto Octavius. At some point Naruto just turned Peter out, having heard all of it before, with Naruto seeing as a form of hero worship. Granted his hero was the 4th Hokage, but it wasn't to the extent that Peter did it. Now both 15-year-old boys were getting ready for their school field trip to Oscorp, wanting to see everything the wonders of science had to offer. Peter, pushing his glasses up, was getting his backpack ready, along with Naruto. Once the packs were on, with Peter putting his camera on as well, the two shoot off, along with their permission slips, waving goodbye to the adults in the room. They both managed to get to school, meeting their friend Harry Osborn, joking and chatting with one another. Once inside the building, the students had a tour of the place. Peter was taking pictures for the school yearbooks, Naruto standing next to him, making sure Flash wasn't picking on his brother. Naruto may not have his chakra anymore, but that didn't mean he was weak, just above strength, like a jock, only instead of focusing on sports, Peter got him on focusing more on his brains than that. As the two were looking around in amazement, Nether noticed a spider hanging from a web, slowly lowering down into Peter's bag. Once the day was over, Naruto and Peter talked for hours about what they saw, causing the adults to smile at how happy the 15-year-olds were. As it was getting late, the two teens started heading for bed. Unfortunately, they both had to share a room together, but they somehow managed to work things out. Placing his bag on his desk, Peter couldn't take the smile off his face. Man Naruto, can you believe we had such an amazing tour? I mean all those scientists working on helping to better mankind. Naruto putting his bag next to Peter's replied with a smirk, you do know that Harry could have given us a backstage tour, his father is the owner after all. Peter smiled back, while putting his hand in his backpack, I know Naruto, but I don't want to make it seem like I'm using Harry to G.E.O. Quickly pulling his hand out of his bag, he saw a spider on his hand, biting him. Instinctively, he threw his hand through the air, accidentally sending the spider towards Naruto. On instinct, Naruto lifts his hands up, protecting his face from whatever bit Peter. That is until he felt the same pain Peter felt, only in the palm of his hands, causing him to clench his hand in pain, killing the spider, where he threw it on the floor. Both boys looked towards the offending arachnid. Geez, for something so small it had a strong bite. Naruto says out loud. Peter agreeing with him wholeheartedly, both boys sat down on their separate beds, after the whole exciting trip to the Oscorp building. Now they were both feeling tired, though it was surprising to see that Naruto was tired. Seeing how late it was, Peter just shakes his head, let's just call it a night, it's getting late after all. Agreeing with his brother figure, Naruto and Peter got undressed, wearing only their boxers and went to bed, never knowing the type of adventure the two were about to have together as the Spider Brothers, Spider-Man and Wolf Spider. It was now morning in the Parker home, with Naruto and Peter still clonked out, that is until the sun's rays peeked through the curtains, landing on Naruto's face. With a groan Naruto started waking up, along with waking Peter with said groaning. "Arg, Naruto, do you have to be so loud? I've got a terrible headache." Wince. And in pain Peter asks. Naruto was blinking his eyes, trying to remove the spots from his vision, along with the headache as well. "You're telling me," reminds me of that time we tried one of Uncle Ben's secret whiskey that he hides from Aunt May. After saying that, both teens shivered at the memory of their angry aunt. Though Ben was upset, he agreed that the boys needed to at least try a little whiskey, just to gain a little tolerance in later years, but not half the bottle. But that didn't stop May's anger towards Ben for both hiding liquor and not keeping it hidden away from the boys. Anyway, slowly, both boys began to feel better. Their headaches were slowly going away, giving clarity. Both looked at the time. Seeing it was 8 a.m., they began to worry. That is until Naruto looked at the calendar. "Whoa, wait a minute, Pete. It's Saturday. The school trip happened on Friday, and here we were scared we'd be late for school." Looking towards the calendar, Peter saw that Naruto was right. Sigh, "Man, we must really be out of it if we thought it'd be a school day. Man, what did that spider do? Oh, come on." Just before he could try and think about what happened, Peter was stopped in his thinking when he noticed Naruto was out the door, most likely headed for the bathroom. Giving chase, Peter tried to get to the bathroom first, but it was too late. Naruto was inside and locked the door. Peter was outside, knocking on the door. "Come on, Naruto, that's not fair." All the while, Naruto was laughing inside the bathroom. "Sorry, Pete, I warned you before what happens if ya get lost in ya head for too long." Here Peter hanged his head down, groaning at the loose of his shower. "All right, just try not to use all the hot water. I want a shower too, ya know." At this point, Ben poked his head out, seeing what the boys were up to. Though he ended up smiling that the two were brothers at heart. They may not be related by blood, but they have grown up together as though they were brothers. As Ben was lost in thought, a pair of arms wrapped around his waist, causing him to smile at his wife May. May, with a knowing look, asked, "What were those two fighting about now?" With her smiling at Peter, knowing that when Naruto came into their lives Peter opened up more. Ben just chuckled. "From what I can tell, Peter was in his thinking phase, where he blocks the world out, and Naruto, being the sneaky prankster that he is, got to the bathroom before him." Ben replied with a big smile and glint in his eye, remembering the last prank Naruto pulled, where he got away with it, in school terms, but with Ben and May. They gave him a lecture. Well, May lectured him. Ben just followed. Though when May was finished and walked away, Ben gave Naruto a good job for not getting caught, but both winced when they heard May say, "I heard that," causing both to walk away to do their own thing. After hearing what Ben said, May just gave a sigh. Those two really are brothers at heart. Here she unattached herself from her husband, moving towards the stairs to get breakfast ready. "And don't think I didn't see that look in your eye, Ben Parker. I just got Naruto to promise me no more pranks for a few months." Here Ben gave a hearty chuckle. "Fair enough, May, though you can't deny that his skills in pranking are amazing." Here she gave Ben the look, causing him to be quiet to slink away to get changed. Once he was gone, May carried on down the stairs, hiding her proud, yet devious little smile. Yet people always wondered if Naruto got his pranking nature from Ben. As the adults were doing their own thing, the two teens were starting to freak out. Naruto was looking at the bathroom mirror, seeing his muscles were more defined, along with 8-pack abs. He was shocked at that part, since he had 6-pack abs yesterday. Thinking it was just a trick with the mirror and steam from the shower, Naruto got in, washed up and jumped out. Putting on a pair of jeans, he sneaked from his and Peter's room. He made his way into their room, finding a strange sight. While Naruto was in the shower, Peter went to get himself ready for his turn in the shower. Getting a pair of clean clothes, he throws his top into the hamper, leaving him in his jeans from yesterday. As he was passing the mirror in their room, he suddenly noticed something off. "Wait a minute, when did I get a 6-pack? Looking at his body, Peter noticed that his body wasn't that of a nerd's body, thin and weak looking. Now it was taut with muscles, built for speed and strength, but mostly speed. He couldn't believe his eyes. Suddenly, Peter realized another thing. "Wait, why can I see without my glasses?" This is when Naruto came in, allowing Peter to see the difference in Naruto as well. "And Naruto, since when did you have an 8-pack? Both look at each other in shock, trying to think of some scientific reason behind this. Until both widened their eyes in shock, coming to the same conclusion. Looking at the floor, they saw the dead spider that bit them both. Both moved towards the spider. With Naruto being closer to the desk, he picks up a plastic disc that both use for the chemistry they work on. Opening the container, Naruto slowly bends down and eases the spider into it. Once inside, both boys looked at the spider, knowing their changes somehow came from this little spider. Both then look at each other, Naruto, we need to look at this in a scientific standpoint. I mean, there's no real evidence that this spider somehow gave his these changes. Naruto, at first, wanted to argue, but couldn't really think of a reason. What Peter said was true. Okay, how do we go about doing these points? I mean, let's be thankful it's Saturday, so we have until Monday to try and figure this out. Sunday. It took all day, and a lot of food for both teams to finish their analysis of what happened to them, with both finding out they've got spider powers, such as wall climbing, quick reflexes, along with a sixth sense of danger, since Naruto threw Peter a muffin, with both not looking at one another to realize that, until Peter caught it without thought. After figuring out what they could do, they began jumping around the room, chasing each other and having fun, along with using their new powers to not knock stuff over. While doing that, their now named spider senses went off. Both looked towards the door, seeing it slowly click open, causing both boys to quickly sit at their desks before their uncle walked in, wondering what the noise was about. After telling Ben that they were talking about one of Naruto's pranks in the chem lab at school, he left it alone, not wanting to remember the part where he and Mei had to use a swimming pool of tomato juice just to scrub the smell off of both the boys, with Naruto regretting that prank since it kinda backfired on him, but he was 10 at the time, he had a chance to learn from that. Now it was Sunday, both of them chatting about their powers. Then Naruto had a thought. Hey Pete, you remember what you said yesterday to Uncle Ben? Hanging upside down, Peter looked to Naruto. What, you mean about chem lab? Don't tell me you're planning another stink bomb attack. Naruto huffed at that. No, I leaned from that. What I mean is, shouldn't spiders have webbing? From what I can tell, we don't have that kind of thing. At this point, Peter released his grip on the ceiling and quietly dropped down. Yeah, I see what you're saying. If we can't fire webbing, how about using chemistry to create our own webbing? That's what you're saying, right? Here Naruto nods his head. Yeah, I mean, we both are nerds. In our own way, we're bound to come up with something similar, or our webbing could be one of those powers that come out at a later date or something, we don't know. So on Sunday, both began making their own webbing, along with a web shooter to fire the webbing. They both explained to their aunt and uncle that they were working on a secret project of theirs, which the adults allowed, provided they don't start a fire again. After the whole day, they came up with a good design for their web shooter MK.1 prototype, which wasn't bad, though it was bulky. Look up Backpack's classic web shooter on Google for a better idea. Unfortunately, they needed time to make it, so they did their everyday thing the next day, along with going to a few secondhand stores and shops for parts, with Peter working on the web shooters, with Naruto helping, and Naruto working on the webbing fluid, with Peter helping him. It took about 2 weeks to get both just right, though they both feel that they could improve the shooters and fluid, along with having time to finish their homework. Peter was sitting at his desk, balancing a pencil under his nose, trying to think of something. Naruto was lounging on his bed, a notebook and pencil in hand, thinking about something as well. Looking towards his brother in all but blood, Naruto gains his attention. Hey Pete, we really need to think of a good design for our costumes, since we don't want people to think of us as freaks or something. So here, I did a few designs, tell me what you think. Handing the notebook to Peter, suddenly, Peter's spider senses went off, making him wonder why. That is until his hand took the notebook. ARRRGH. A sudden electric shock caused Peter to jump slightly, seeing blue lightning jumping from Naruto's hand, where even Naruto was surprised. Looking at his hands, Naruto began flexing them slightly, wondering what happened. What the heck happened? Did I just used lightning or something? Peter looked at his brother's hands. I don't know, but I can't feel my hand, almost like a paralysis shock or something. Maybe it has something to do with your bioelectricity, since you've lost your ability to use chakra. Maybe the spider unlocked it another way. The scientist in Peter showing. Naruto was narrowing his eyes. Yeah, that could explain things. I mean, I'm not truly a part of this world, so the spider must have a different effect on me than you in some way. Peter's influence striking Naruto. Here Peter groaned. So you not only get a 8-pack, but a venomous lightning touch as well. How's that for fair? They both chuckled at that, lighting the mood, though Naruto tried cheering up his brother. Hey, come on man, how about this? I drew some designs for our costumes, so why don't you get the first pick, huh? Here Peter chuckled. Even he could say that Naruto was the better artist when it comes to drawings, especially the ones on the school walls. After a look through, Peter spotted the one he liked, a little blue and red number that he would like. Alright, I picked this one, it looks super cool. Classic Spider-Man outfit, with web gliders. Looking at the drawing, Naruto smiled. Alright, that's your outfit done, now I'll get started on my outfit. Peter looks towards him. What are you going for? It can't be the same as mine since it would confuse people, making them think we're clones or something. Naruto nodded his head. I already figured that part out. Maybe I'll go for a more stealthy approach, you know, since I did come from a world full of ninjas, maybe a more black type of outfit. Here Naruto began to work on his outfit drawing, taking his time getting it right. Peter saw that Naruto was in the zone at the moment, so he went downstairs to get a snack, along with getting something for Naruto. After 5 minutes Peter entered the bedroom, a nice big sandwich in his hand for Naruto. Seeing that he's finished, Naruto showed Peter his finished work, making Peter ask, are you sure about this? The goggles seem kinda off on it. Spider Noir costume. Naruto, with half a sandwich in his mouth, looked up at Peter. It's a work in progress. Yours was just a simple doodle that I took my time drawing. Besides, what makes you think we'll have enough material for my outfit? Peter couldn't deny that. It'll take some time to make the costume Naruto drew, which Peter was thankful for. Okay, what do we need for our outfit? I mean, by the looks of it, we'll need something that's insulated or something. Not wanting to catch a cold from wearing such an outfit. Naruto, gulping down his food, agreed. No worries, we'll look into that. It'll also need padding and stretchy material as well, since we don't want accidents with our costumes. Here Peter ended up blushing, thinking about bending down and hearing a sudden rip behind him. That would be an embarrassing problem. During that time, both Naruto and Peter came up with a prototype outfit for Peter, at least until they have enough money for the things they need for Peter's costume, along with Naruto's costume. Look up Spider-Man prototype suit on Google for an idea. That's when Peter found a poster about wrestling, where the reward money was enough for the material, along with extra for Naruto's own costume. During that time, Naruto tells Peter that he's taking a spare mask and web shooters to practice and train using them, with Peter telling him about the wrestling. At first Naruto was thinking it through, but agrees by telling Peter it would be good experience for him to fight someone that doesn't hold back, with Peter asking Naruto that he was joking, with Naruto walking away not saying a thing, with Peter calling out his name one last time. But what both teens don't realize was that was the last time they'd see a family member. 1 month later. It's been a month since what happened to Ben. It took a while before the Parkers could get their act together. Peter was angry with himself for letting the robber get away in the first place. Naruto was angry at himself for not being there at the time to either stop the robber or to hang out with Uncle Ben while waiting for Peter. Both boys didn't tell their family members about their powers, not wanting them to worry. The teens ended up closing themselves off from that is until May helped them through it, getting them out of their funk and trying to get them to be busy, which worked, with Peter telling Naruto that Ben explained that with great power comes great responsibilities, allowing a fire to appear in both teens' eyes. That day, they made a sightly promise to make their Uncle Ben proud of them by using their powers to help others. But first, Naruto explained to Peter that they couldn't go into it too fast. They first need to train and practice, then they need to figure out how to help their Aunt May and a whole bunch of other things. They didn't want to hurt anyone while being heroes. After all, with great power comes great responsibilities. It's been quite a ride for Naruto. It took him and his brother some time to get into the swing of things, juggling their jobs, studies and crime-fighting style. They've fought loads of different selection of criminals, from the everyday punk with a gun, to the super-powered villains, but they've finally worked things out. At the moment, the view changed from a spider slowly hanging from its web, to an apartment complex full with different assortment of things. On a desk was an inside-out black mask with circuitry around the lenses, plugged into a laptop, slowly downloading some system schematics and other things. Slowly, we land upon a bed in the corner of the room. The covers were hiding whoever was inside them, with the occupant snoozing soundly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. That is until a phone starts going off. In the covers 2 voices were groaning at being awakened, one male and one female. Slowly, a male hand reached out, feeling for the annoying thing. Once in his hand a tired voice answered, who is this? ? His head slowly pulling out of the covers, showing spiky blonde hair, resting his head on the pillow, a feminine hand resting on his chest. He was trying to listen to the voice, but he was still slightly tired. Hang on a second. Putting his hand over the speaker, eyes blinking in confusion, he asks himself, now who am I? Oh yeah. Moving back to the phone, waking a little more. What's up, Pete? I'm still tired from a rough last night. A female giggle was heard from under the covers, with a sensual voice saying out loud, you can say that again, Wolfie. Causing Naruto to slightly panic a bit. Putting his hand over the phone, he whispered to the woman, shush, I don't want Pete to know about us yet. after his breakup with MJ and everything. This seems to cause the woman to giggle some more. Slowly she crawled out of the covers, showing a head of white blonde hair, with a cat-like smile playing her lips, straddling his waist. Oh, come on now Wolfie, surely the little spider had enough time to get over it. Here she was slowly grinding into him, Naruto trying to ignore it, but she was making it very difficult. Alright, sure Pete. Wait, what? You can't be serious. At that point, Naruto's eyes widened. Are you kidding me? This was pretty much our white whale. You'd think I'd miss this for the world. I'm on my way. Here Naruto slowly moved the woman off of him, moving around his apartment to get his costume on, though the woman was pouting at the lose of her lover. What's got you so jumpy that you'd leave your nice warm bed and me? Naruto looked back at his naked, under the sheets, lover. I'm so sorry Felicia. It's just that, getting his bottoms on, Pete just told me that the police, now his top, are finally making a move on Wilson Fisk. They've finally got enough evidence to make a move on him. Putting his boots, gloves and web shooters on. The now named Felicia's eyes widened. She knew all about Naruto and Peter's attempt to taking down the big kingpin of crime. Now it seems they're finally getting it. Thankfully, Naruto didn't care if Felicia knows, since he managed to change her from a thieving criminal to his partner, in both crime fighting and as a lover. That's right, Naruto managed to fully reform Black Cat from a cat burglar to his partner in crime fighting. At first Peter was hesitant at the past criminal, but after some time, Naruto did it. He helped Felicia to stay on the right track. Now the two would go on dates, have fun. Naruto showing her a few chemistry formulas, causing beautiful explosions, though one time he tried his Aunt May's dumpling recipe for them, but it did not go according to plan, since they had to move out of their old apartment and moved somewhere else, namely to the apartment they're in now. But the two had a few ups and downs, like many couples do, but, in the end, they worked it out together, and their bonds became stronger than ever. At one point Naruto was closing in on asking Felicia a question. Putting her body in a tempting position, where she was laying on her front, head on the back of her hands, her legs kicking back and forward in the air, while the blanket covered everything in the middle. Do you need your little, black cat, to help you out? She asks Naruto with a teasing smile. Looking towards his lover, Naruto moves towards her, basically ready with his mask in his hand. Sorry beautiful, but me and Peter's been after this guy for years. I know you want to get a crack at him, but... Placing her finger on his lips to shut him up. She smiled lovingly. I know honey, I know, this is your catch. Both you and your brother have been waiting for years for this, so I'll let you handle the fat whale. Naruto gave her a kiss on the lips in gratitude. Naruto began making his way towards the window, getting ready to put his mask on. Besides, I'm still tired from last night, plus with how my legs feel I doubt I could move, let alone take down a mob boss. She finishes, her cat-like smile in place, causing Naruto to both smirk and blush at what she said. Quickly putting his mask on, Naruto dived out of his window, all the while hearing the beautiful laughter of his girlfriend following him, shaking his head as he was falling. Naruto could only think of one word that caused him to roll his eyes and smirk at the same time: women. Closing in on the ground, he then fired off his new, updated, web shooter that he and his brother, Peter, had been working on, catching a building on the other side of him and swinging through the streets. At the apex of his swing, Naruto jumped off and shook his head. Now wasn't the time to think about last night's fun time with his girlfriend. He needed to focus on getting to Fisk's building to help his brother. Look out Big Willie, because you're not just dealing with Spider-Man, but his brother Wolf Spider. Talk about an awesome combo of the Spider brothers coming together again to fight ya. While Naruto was on his way, his lover just smiled after him. She can't help but think about how her life changed for the better, now that she finally stole the one thing she wanted from the start of her and Naruto's little game of cat and mouse, or in this case, cat and wolf. She couldn't keep the smile off her face. She realized years ago of one thing: I may have managed to steal your heart Wolfie, but you've also managed to steal mine. Looking towards a black case she left by his desk, holding a little present for him. Ah, he forgot his little gift from me. Oh well, I'm sure I can give it to him when he's finished with Fisk. Suddenly her eyes widened. That's it. I'll play a little prank on Wolfie. I'll gather evidence on mob bosses and hide them for safekeeping. It'll be like our old hide-and-seek game that we used to play. Before I turn good, I'll even place his gift there as well. Then I'll hide in there and giggle. She couldn't keep the happy, glowing smile from her face. She lost her heart to him and vice versa. Yawn. I guess I really do need a cat nap after last night. Giggling to herself, Felicia snuggled back into the covers. Though her legs protested the movement slightly, she managed to get comfortable, taking a deep inhale through her nose of Naruto's scent, which allowed to lull her back to sleep. All the while thinking to herself, I hope Naruto can manage to get those two back together. Allowing her to begin to dream of the past double dates the four of them went on together, which they all enjoyed, along with possible places to gather evidence from. Their game of wolf and cat will definitely be fun. The end. Thanks for watching. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.